We're talking about the increase in foreclosure filings and its effect on today's real estate market.
I keep it real, I keep it real, I keep it real, just keep it real.
Hey guys, it's Sam Hartman, keeping it real estate here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Thank you for joining me for another deep dive. I hope this information can help provide some clarity, context, and confidence to you as you are helping gather information to make great decisions for you and your family's real estate future. So today we're looking at the foreclosure headlines and the data behind them and what that might mean for our housing market today. And so that's exactly what we're doing. We're doing an update on foreclosures and we're looking behind the headlines and we're looking at the facts because there have been a lot of headlines out there. Here's one from Adam Data. Adam is a great resource for a lot of the information that I talk about here. And they came out saying that U.S. foreclosure activity is continuing to climb in Q1 of 2023. And so the data behind this information and this post here has led to a lot of hot button news headlines out there. And here's just a few of them. More Americans are losing their homes as foreclosures on U.S. properties rise. Foreclosures are on the rise, particularly in these states. U.S. foreclosure filings jumped 22% and repossessions hit highest level in 3 years. And the foreclosure jump is another wave of foreclosures about to flood the housing market. And so these are all hot button headlines. They are clickbait headlines. They want you to feel unsure and unsafe and click their buttons to read some more, but they lack a lot of the clarity and confidence behind them. So that's what we're going to look at today. And we're going to talk about the actual data that has led to these headlines. And so we're only going to go back here with a 6-year window. We're going to look at the last 6-year foreclosure filings and how that correlates to where we're at today. And so if we just took a straight line average of the last 6 years of foreclosures, the U.S. nationally was averaging just under 600,000 foreclosures per year. And so you can see a precipitous drop from 2017, 18, 19 to record foreclosure lows in 2020 and 2021. Now, what led to those record lows in those 2 years? Well, that is when the government came in and they slapped a moratorium on foreclosures. They said no more foreclosures. COVID has happened. People are losing their jobs. There's so much uncertainty. We want homeowners to have the runway, the flexibility, and the time to get back on their feet. Well, that moratorium is over now as of 2022. And so you can see that rise in foreclosures from 2021 to 2022. They actually increased by 100% from 150,000 to over 300,000 foreclosures in that short time frame. But if we zoom out even farther, here's what these articles are not looking at. Here's what these headlines are not telling you as we zoom further out. This is a broader picture of the average number of foreclosures from quarter to quarter, year to year, going all the way back to 2005. So you can see 2005 ramping up, spiking there in 2009, 2010, 2011. And why did that happen? That was the housing crisis, the mortgage crisis of 2008. And we saw a good 5-year window there where foreclosures were just rampant, were flooding the market and really affecting the values of homes. That is the biggest reason we're looking at and being concerned about foreclosures, is because if they come to the market, if they add enough inventory of homes to the real estate market, it could potentially bring values down. That would be my number one concern if I were a homeowner or a home seller. But home buyers out there, they're almost wishing for this to happen because they want more inventory. They want more options. But in the grand scheme, foreclosure properties tend to be rougher homes, need more work, need more, not turnkey for homeowners. So a lot of homeowners shy away from foreclosure properties in general. So should we be concerned about the increase in foreclosures flooding the market? Again, let's look at this graph. 2008 to 2011, you see this huge spike, and it's been nothing but a precipitous fall ever since then. Look all the way to the far right of this graph. That's where we are today. So you see a slight rise in the foreclosure filings, but that is so minor in the historic broad picture as we look back to 2005 of what foreclosures really look like. So here's the actual numbers behind that ADAM data report. A total of 95,000 properties with a foreclosure filing in the first quarter of 23. A total of 65,000 U.S. properties started the foreclosure process in quarter one of 23. And nationwide, 1 in every 1,459 housing units had a foreclosure filing in 2023. Lenders repossessed over 12,000 U.S. properties through the foreclosure process in quarter one of 23. And so that is up about 22% over the previous year. So they are still rising because that government moratorium on the foreclosures is now over. So people that were in the financial constraints and struggling then and might still be struggling today are still in that situation. And now it's come to pay the piper, where the banks are actually having to take the next steps in repossessing and foreclosing on these homes. But again, is it something to be concerned about? Looking back, we were over 2 million foreclosures per year in 2008, 2009, and 2010. And then from 2010 to 2015, we were over 1 million foreclosures per year at that time. 2022, we saw just over 300,000 foreclosures. So we're still very far off from those big swings, the big influx of inventory of homes that came in those years to the market. We are not expecting to see that in current market scenarios and trends that are happening in today's market. So the CEO of ADAM Data, Rob Barber, he came out with a quote to just kind of further explain why this information is coming out, where this data is coming from, and what's kind of behind it. And Rob says, despite efforts made by the government agencies and policymakers to try and reduce foreclosure rates, we're seeing an upward trend in the foreclosure activity. This is an unfortunate trend. So Rob Barber, CEO of ADAM Data, he made this quote to just kind of summarize where all this information is coming from and what's behind it. Rob says, despite efforts made by government agencies and policymakers to try and reduce foreclosure rates, we're seeing an upward trend in foreclosure activity. This unfortunate trend can be attributed to a variety of factors, such as rising unemployment rates, foreclosure filings making their way through the pipeline after 2 years of government intervention, and other ongoing economic challenges. So this unfortunate trend, he says, unemployment rates. Employment in the U.S. has been phenomenal, even through COVID, after COVID, and it's one of the things that's really propping up our economy in today's market. But as the government is putting pressure on interest rates and putting pressure on employers, they want employment to kind of come back to earth a little bit. We've been at full employment for a long time. And so that is one of the pressures that could be affecting this increase in foreclosures. Another is the pipeline. Because for 2 years, the government said, no foreclosures. We can't do these right now. We've got to give these people a little bit of a runway. Well, after 2 years of a government-aided runway for homeowners, it's now time to pay the piper. Those people have not gotten their footing, gotten back on their feet, and made themselves current with their mortgages. They are starting to find themselves in that foreclosure process. Here's the good news there, though. Out of everyone that entered the moratorium program, the government assistance program through the COVID years, only 0.55% of those people remain at risk of losing their home. So of all the hundreds of thousands and millions of people that entered this government assistance, there's a very small percentage of them remaining at risk. And so that's positive news. And then lastly, he talks about other ongoing economic challenges. Well, look at inflation. Everything costs the homeowner more, from home improvements to gas to groceries. And so if your living expenses are going through the roof due to the high levels of inflation, it's going to put pressure on homeowners to stay current with their mortgages as well. And I'm going to finish here with a quote from the executive news editor of Realtor.com, and she says there's no reason to panic. At least not yet. Foreclosure filings began to tick up in late 2021 after the foreclosure moratorium ended. The moratorium was enacted in the early days of COVID-19 when millions of Americans lost their jobs and to prevent a tsunami of homeowners losing their property. And so we're seeing with the trickle of foreclosures coming back to the market, we really do think that this moratorium instated by the government really helped homeowners keep their homes, gave them the runway they needed to get back on their feet and to get their footing to be current with their mortgages and to avoid being at risk of the foreclosure process. So that's where we're at today with foreclosures. So the headlines are not wrong. They are not sharing incorrect information. Foreclosures are rising. They are increasing. But there is a swath of data and information and context behind those headlines that they aren't quite giving you. So here's what we should expect. Home buyers, you might see more foreclosures hitting the market in your market than in previous years because they were almost non-existent in previous years. But home sellers know that this number of foreclosures hitting the market does not indicate a deeper, darker problem with housing. It's just kind of a product of the government intervention that was undertaken. But like I said before, almost just 0.5% of those homeowners that were at risk during COVID times are still at risk today. So we don't expect this number of foreclosures to be a drastic change or a drastic increase that's going to really affect the total inventory of homes in the real estate market or bring down the total value of homes in the real estate market today as well. I hope this information was valuable and helpful for you guys. I hope if you have questions, comments, or concerns, make sure you let me know. And if this information was helpful and you think someone else would value from it, make sure you share this video with them. Thanks for sticking with me today. It's Sam Hartman, keeping it real estate in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We'll see you next time, guys.
I keep it real, just keep it real.